The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council, in their grand chamber on the space station Nexus Prime, had announced a challenge that had every engineering team buzzing with excitement and dread. Build a ship capable of traversing the Void Nebula, a region of space where conventional propulsion and shields failed due to unique quantum disturbances. Many called it suicide. Others called it impossible. Jack Miller called it interesting. Jack sat in his cramped office at the Mars Colonial Outpost, staring at the official announcement on his screen. The office was cluttered with paper diagrams, old coffee cups, and models of ships he had designed over his 15-year career. A large window showed the red Martian landscape outside, storm clouds gathering on the horizon. "They say it can't be done," said Jack to himself, scratching his beard. His eyes narrowed as he scrolled through the technical data the Council had released about the Void Nebula. But there's always a way. For centuries, the nebula had blocked the most direct route to the resource-rich Centaurus arm of the galaxy. Ships that entered the nebula suffered catastrophic systems failures. The lucky ones drifted out with dead crews. The unlucky ones simply disappeared forever. Jack pulled up records of past attempts. The Norva, a ship built by the highly advanced Plex species, had made it 11 kilometers into the nebula before its atomic engines reversed polarity and imploded. The Distant Dream, designed by the ancient Krell civilization, lasted slightly longer but was found drifting at the edge of the nebula, its hull turned inside out by space-time distortions. "Sir," a voice broke Jack's concentration. It was his assistant, Ben. "The director wants to see you. Something about not wasting company time on suicide missions." His words, not mine. Jack sighed and stood up, gathering a few tablets. "Tell him I'm coming. And pull up everything we have on quantum wave interference patterns." Director Wilson was not a patient man. His office was the opposite of Jack's, pristine, organized, and cold. Like the man himself. "Miller, I understand you've requested access to the Void Nebula data packages," Wilson said without looking up from his desk. "Request denied." Jack placed one of his tablets on the desk and activated it. "Sir, I think I've found something. Look at these calculations." Wilson glanced at the tablet with obvious disinterest. "More of your wild theories." "Not wild," Jack replied, pointing to specific equations. "See here. Every ship that's entered the nebula has tried to fight against the quantum disturbances. What if we don't fight them? What if we ride them?" The director's eyebrow rose slightly, the closest thing to interest he ever showed. "Explain." For the next 20 minutes, Jack outlined his theory. The quantum disturbances in the nebula weren't random chaos as most scientists believed. There was a pattern, complex and alien, but a pattern nonetheless. If a ship could be designed to synchronize with these patterns rather than resist them, it might be possible to navigate the nebula safely. "You're talking about a complete redesign of propulsion theory," Wilson said when Jack finished. "Even if your theory has merit, the resources required would be astronomical." "So was building the first light-speed engine," Jack countered. "Humanity has always achieved the impossible when we set our minds to it." Wilson leaned back in his chair, studying Jack with new eyes. "I'll forward this to Earth. Don't get your hopes up." 3 weeks later, Jack's communicator buzzed while he slept. The United Space Agency, the governing body for all human space exploration, wanted to speak with him immediately. The holographic conference was brief and to the point. Jack's theory had caught the attention of Dr. Emma Rhodes, the head of the USA's Advanced Propulsion Division. She had forwarded it to her team, who, after extensive review, believed it might actually work. "The Council is offering substantial rewards for even partial success," said Dr. Rhodes, her holographic image flickering slightly. "Resources, technology rights, and exclusive mining permits in the Centaurus arm. Humanity could advance centuries overnight." Jack tried to remain professional, but a grin spread across his face. "When do I start?" "Immediately. We're transferring you to Earth. You'll have resources, a team, and full authority to proceed as you see fit." What followed was a whirlwind of activity. Jack moved to the USA's main research facility in what was once called Switzerland. The facility, built into a mountain, housed some of the most advanced technology and brilliant minds on Earth. His team came together quickly. There was Tom Reeves, a weapons specialist who understood energy containment better than anyone. His work on plasma shields had earned him 3 Nobel Prizes, but his casual demeanor and constant jokes made people forget how brilliant he truly was. Lisa Chen joined as quantum physicist. Her theories on quantum entanglement had revolutionized communications across the galaxy. Quiet and methodical, she approached problems like puzzles to be solved with patience and precision. Mark Wilson, no relation to the director, came on as the AI expert. Surrounded by screens and holographic displays, Mark could coax artificial intelligence systems to perform miracles. His cybernetic eye, the result of a childhood accident, gave him the ability to interface directly with computers, making him uniquely suited for programming the complex systems Jack's design would require. The final team member was Dave Johnson, a veteran pilot with 30 years of experience in extreme conditions. He had survived 3 crashes, 2 space station evacuations, and once piloted a damaged mining vessel through an asteroid field with nothing but manual controls. His weathered face and calm demeanor hid nerves of steel. "I'm calling it the Quiet Storm," Jack announced during their first full team meeting. "Poetic," Tom said with a smirk. "But why?" Jack activated the central holographic display, showing his initial design concept. The ship looked unlike any conventional vessel, smooth curves instead of harsh angles, with what appeared to be gill-like structures along its sides. Because that's how it will move through the nebula. Not fighting against the quantum disturbances with brute force, but quietly riding them like a storm surfer. The team stared at the design, expressions ranging from fascination to skepticism. "This goes against every principle of current ship design," Dave noted, walking around the hologram. "The guild pilots would have a fit trying to navigate this thing." "That's why we'll need new navigation systems," Jack replied. "Mark, that's where you come in." As the team discussed the challenges ahead, a notification appeared on the main screen. A delegation from the Galactic Council had arrived to observe the project's commencement. The aliens entered the room with the arrogant confidence of superior beings. Leading them was Ambassador Trell, whose species, the Volans, had been spacefaring for 10,000 years before humans had even discovered fire. "We are curious about your approach," Trell said, his translator giving his words a metallic edge. "No species with your limited experience has ever attempted such a challenge." Jack met the alien's gaze steadily. "Maybe that's exactly why we'll succeed. We don't know enough to believe it's impossible." Trell's facial tentacles rippled in what might have been amusement. "The Council has a saying: ambition without knowledge creates beautiful failures. We look forward to witnessing yours." As the delegation left, Lisa approached Jack. "They don't think we have a chance." Jack smiled, turning back to the holographic design of the Quiet Storm. "Good. There's nothing humans do better than proving others wrong." The real work was about to begin. Construction of the orbital facility began 3 months after the team formed. The United Space Agency commandeered an old space station in Earth's orbit and transformed it into a shipyard dedicated to the Quiet Storm project. Metal scaffolding stretched out from the station like spindly fingers, forming the skeleton of what would become humanity's most ambitious vessel. Jack stood at the viewport of the command module, watching as construction drones buzzed around the growing framework. His reflection in the glass showed dark circles under his eyes, evidence of too many sleepless nights spent refining his designs. "You should get some rest," said Lisa, appearing beside him with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Jack. "The frame won't build itself any faster with you staring at it." Jack accepted the coffee gratefully. "We're behind schedule. The resource shipments from Mars are delayed again. Tom says he can rework the shield generators to use less palladium. That might help." Before Jack could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "Pressure drop in Section 4. A voice announced over the intercom. All personnel evacuate immediately. Jack and Lisa sprinted toward the emergency, joining Tom and several technicians already sealing off the affected area. Beyond the sealed doors, they could see a small breach in the outer hull where a construction drone had accidentally punctured the station ball. "That's the third accident this month," Tom said grimly, inspecting the damage through the viewport. "Either we hired the worst drone operators in the solar system, or someone's trying to slow us down." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Where's our Galactic Council observer today?" "Ambassador Trell mentioned something about observing the material testing in Lab 2, Lisa replied, "which is conveniently on the opposite side of the station from Section 4. Jack muttered. "Mark, are you there?" He spoke into his communicator. "Already on it," came Mark's voice. "I'm reviewing security footage now." Later that evening, the team gathered in Jack's office. Mark had discovered evidence of tampering with the drone's navigation systems, subtle code changes that couldn't be traced to any specific terminal. "They're getting desperate," Dave said, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. "Word is spreading that we might actually pull this off." Jack paced the room. "The Council officially supports this project, but individual species have their own agendas. If humans succeed where others failed, we become a threat to the established order." Lisa finished. "Exactly. We need to increase security, but quietly. I don't want to provoke an interstellar incident by openly accusing Council members of sabotage." The next morning, Jack presented their progress to a panel of Earth officials. Military leaders, politicians, and financial backers who controlled the project's future. The mood in the conference room was tense. "You're 3 months behind schedule and 20% over budget," said General Williams, a stern woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Some are suggesting we cut our losses." Jack activated a holographic display. "We've overcome significant challenges," he said, deliberately not mentioning the sabotage. "And we've had a breakthrough with the propulsion system." The hologram showed the unique wave-riding engine design. Unlike conventional engines that pushed against space, this system would detect the quantum disturbances in the nebula and adjust the ship's energy signature to move with them rather than against them. "Theory is one thing, Mr. Miller," said a sharp-voiced politician. "Have you tested it?" "Small-scale tests begin next week," Jack replied. "We've built a chamber that can simulate the nebula's conditions." The meeting ended with reluctant approval to continue, but Jack knew their patience was wearing thin. Results were needed soon. The test chamber was a spherical room 20 meters across, lined with specialized emitters that could recreate the quantum disturbances of the Void Nebula. In the center floated a 1/10 scale model of the engine system. "All personnel clear the chamber," Lisa announced over the intercom. "Test commencing in 2 minutes." The team gathered in the observation room, separated from the test chamber by thick, reinforced glass. Screens displayed readouts of energy levels, quantum fluctuations, and dozens of other measurements. "Beginning quantum field generation," Lisa said, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "Simulating nebula conditions at 10% intensity." The air in the chamber seemed to ripple as invisible forces disturbed the very fabric of space-time. The model engine began to glow softly. "Engine response nominal," Mark reported. "Increasing field strength to 20%. The ripples in the chamber intensified. On the screens, numbers scrolled rapidly as the computer analyzed the engine's performance. 30%, 40%. At 50% intensity, the engine's glow brightened significantly. It began to pulse in rhythm with the quantum disturbances, exactly as Jack had theorized. "It's working," Tom exclaimed. "The engine is synchronizing with the field." "Increase to 60%, Jack ordered, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. As the field intensity grew, the engine's synchronization became more pronounced. The pulsing quickened, matching the increasingly chaotic quantum patterns. 70%, 80%. At 85%, something changed. The engine's pulse faltered, then accelerated rapidly. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Energy buildup in the core. Lisa shouted, "It's not dispersing correctly." "Shut it down," Jack ordered. "I can't. The field regulators aren't responding." Mark lunged for the emergency shutdown, but before he could reach it, a blinding flash erupted from the chamber. The observation window cracked as a wave of energy slammed into it. The force knocked everyone backward. When Jack's vision cleared, he saw the test chamber filled with smoke. The engine model was completely destroyed, and part of the chamber wall had melted. "Is everyone all right?" Jack called out, helping Lisa to her feet. A groan came from the corner. Mark lay on the floor, blood seeping from a gash on his forehead where he had struck the control panel. "Medical team to the test lab," Jack shouted into his communicator. "We have an injured man." Hours later, after Mark had been treated, 6 stitches, and a mild concussion, the team gathered in the infirmary. "The good news is that the engine worked exactly as designed, up to 85% intensity," Lisa reported. The bad news is that 85% isn't good enough," Jack finished. "The real nebula is well above 90% on that scale." Dave, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. "The failure wasn't in your design, Jack." All eyes turned to him. "I checked the wreckage personally. Someone replaced one of the quantum resonators with a modified version. It was designed to fail under high stress." A heavy silence fell over the room. "Can you prove it?" Jack asked finally. Dave placed a charred piece of metal on the table. "Standard resonators have a manufacturing mark on the inside. This one has a different mark, belonging to a Volan technology firm. The Volans, Ambassador Trell's species. The project review board meets tomorrow to discuss the test failure," Lisa said quietly. "They're talking about cancellation." Jack picked up the sabotaged component. "Then we'd better be ready to show them exactly why we failed, and why we'll succeed next time." The next day, Jack walked into the review board meeting with his entire team and a case of evidence. By the time they walked out 2 hours later, the project had not only been saved, but had received additional funding and security personnel. As they left the building, Tom clapped Jack on the shoulder. "They should have known better than to underestimate humans." Jack smiled grimly. "This is just the beginning. Now we show them what the quiet storm can really do." In orbit above them, the framework of the ship continued to grow, each piece bringing them one step closer to the impossible. 3 weeks after the sabotage incident, the atmosphere in the orbital facility had changed. Security personnel now accompanied the alien observers everywhere. Camera drones hovered in every corridor. The easy, collaborative spirit that had marked the early days of the project was gone, replaced by suspicion and heightened vigilance. Jack hardly noticed. He had barely left the main design lab for days, surrounded by holographic displays showing endless simulations of quantum wave patterns. The test failure haunted him. Even without sabotage, the engine design wasn't stable enough at the higher intensity levels needed for the Void Nebula. "You need to sleep," Dave said, entering the lab with a tray of food. "Even brilliant minds need rest." Jack rubbed his bloodshot eyes. "We're missing something. The wave patterns become too chaotic at high intensities. We need a way to predict them, to adapt faster." Dave set the tray down. "Eat first, then sleep. Solutions rarely come to exhausted minds." Reluctantly, Jack took a break. He wandered through the station, eventually finding himself in the recreation area. Most of the crew were on shift, leaving the space nearly empty except for Lisa, who sat in a corner with headphones on, eyes closed. Jack was about to leave when Lisa suddenly sat up straight, eyes wide with excitement. She yanked off her headphones and began frantically typing on her tablet. Only then did she notice Jack. "Jack, I think I got something." Her voice trembled with excitement. "Listen to this." She handed him the headphones. What Jack heard was a classical music piece, something with violins and other string instruments he couldn't name. "It's Bach," Lisa explained, seeing his confusion. "A fugue. Do you hear how the patterns repeat but change slightly each time? How they weave together in complex but predictable ways? Jack nodded, still not understanding. Now look at this. She pulled up the quantum wave data from their failed test. I've been converting the quantum fluctuation data into sound waves. Listen. She handed him the headphones again. This time, Jack heard what sounded like chaotic noise, static and discordant tones that hurt his ears. I don't see the connection, he admitted. Lisa's eyes sparkled. That's because we're not listening correctly. The quantum waves aren't random. They're a fugue, a complex, multi-dimensional fugue that repeats over vast distances and timeframes. Look. She overlaid the back music pattern with the quantum data, adjusted some parameters, and suddenly Jack could see it. The similarities in pattern structure, the way both seemed to build on themselves. If the nebula's quantum disturbances follow musical mathematics, Jack began, then we can predict them. Lisa finished. Not with standard algorithms, but with music theory. We need to redesign the engine to respond to these patterns, to anticipate them rather than just react. Jack stared at her in amazement. Lisa, you might have just saved the project. For the next 2 weeks, Jack and Lisa worked tirelessly, bringing in musical mathematicians to help refine their approach. They created a new shield frequency system that didn't just respond to quantum disturbances, but anticipated them, creating harmonious interactions that would protect the ship. When they finally called the team together to present their findings, even Tom, usually quick with a joke, was stunned into silence. You're saying we need to make the ship sing to the nebula? He finally asked. In a manner of speaking, Lisa replied. The shield will emit frequencies that harmonize with the nebula's quantum patterns. Think of it like surfing. You need to feel the wave to ride it. Mark, fully recovered from his injury, was already working on how to implement the new approach. We'll need to completely redesign the sensor array, and the shield generators, and probably the navigation system. Can we do it within our time frame? Jack asked. Mark nodded slowly. I think so. But we'll need to work fast. The Council's formal review is in 6 weeks. News of the breakthrough spread quickly. 3 days later, a delegation of alien experts arrived to evaluate the project's progress. Their leader was Dr. Nex, a renowned physicist from the Altair system, known for his dismissive attitude toward human scientific endeavors. We understand you've made a creative adjustment to your approach, Dr. Nex said, his translator giving his words a condescending tone. The Council is interested to see if human intuition can succeed where proper science has failed. Jack bit back a sharp reply. We've scheduled a demonstration for tomorrow. You're welcome to observe our test of the new shield system. The test facility had been rebuilt with enhanced security measures. The new prototype, a quarter-scale model of the shield system, floated in the center of the chamber, connected to control systems by a single power cable. Lisa supervised the final preparations as the alien delegation took their places in the observation room. Jack noticed their expressions ranged from polite disinterest to barely concealed mockery. Beginning quantum field generation, Lisa announced. 10% intensity. The chamber filled with the now familiar rippling effect as the quantum generators activated. The shield prototype began to emit a soft, pulsing glow. 20%, 30%. The aliens watched silently as the intensity increased. The shield's glow fluctuated in patterns that seemed to match the invisible quantum waves. 50%, 60%. At the previous failure point, 85%. Jack held his breath. The shield flickered momentarily, then stabilized, its patterns becoming more complex but remaining coherent. 90%. Lisa continued, her voice steady despite the tension. 95%. Full nebula simulation achieved. The shield was now a beautiful display of shifting colors and patterns, responding to the quantum chaos around it with elegant, almost dance-like movements of energy. Holding stable at full intensity, Mark reported from his console. Shield integrity at 98%. For 3 minutes, they maintained the test at maximum intensity. The shield never faltered. When Lisa finally shut down the simulation, the observation room remained silent. Dr. Nex stared at the readings on the monitoring screens, his large eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. "Impossible," he muttered. "The mathematics don't support this outcome." Jack stepped forward. "That's because you were using the wrong mathematics, Doctor. The universe doesn't always follow our expectations of how it should behave." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Humans, the newcomers, the upstarts, had solved what hundreds of more advanced civilizations had failed to crack for centuries. Suddenly, the project facility was flooded with requests for visits, offers of assistance, and thinly veiled attempts to gain access to the technology. In a private meeting, Jack and his team discussed the rapidly changing political landscape. "Every major species is trying to position themselves to benefit from our breakthrough," Tom reported. "The Volans have suddenly become our biggest supporters, claiming they always believed in human ingenuity. The Central Trade Authority has offered us exclusive contracts for any resources we discover beyond the nebula," Lisa added. Dave, ever practical, cut to the heart of the matter. "None of that matters if we don't build the actual ship. Right now, all we have is a working shield prototype. We still need to scale everything up and integrate it with the propulsion system." Jack nodded grimly. "And we need to do it faster than planned. The longer we take, the more opportunities for interference, friendly or otherwise. From now on, we work round the clock. The Quiet Storm needs to be ready for its maiden voyage before anyone can stop us." As they left the meeting, Jack paused to look at the main construction bay through a viewport. The ship's hull was taking shape now, its unique curved form unlike any vessel humans had built before. It seemed to flow rather than stand rigid, its lines suggesting movement even while stationary. "They said it couldn't be done," he whispered to himself. They were wrong. Behind him, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if the universe itself was watching humanity reach for the impossible. The orbital shipyard blazed with activity day and night. Construction drones swarmed over the Quiet Storm's growing hull like busy insects, welding, assembling, and testing. Inside the partially completed vessel, teams of engineers worked in carefully coordinated shifts to install the revolutionary systems that would allow the ship to survive the Void Nebula. Jack's office had become a command center. Screens covered every wall, showing progress reports, material inventories, and security alerts. He had taken to sleeping on a cot in the corner rather than waste time traveling to and from his quarters. "Shield harmonizer installation is ahead of schedule," Mark reported during the morning briefing. His cybernetic eye glowed softly as he connected directly to the ship's systems. "The wave-riding propulsion units are at 86% completion. The navigation system is giving us trouble," Lisa added. "The quantum predictive algorithms require more processing power than we anticipated." Jack rubbed his tired eyes. "Pull resources from non-essential systems if you need to. Navigation is our priority." "There's another issue," Tom said, his usually cheerful face serious. "Security picked up unusual communication patterns from a cargo ship that docked yesterday. They claimed to be delivering specialized parts for the life support systems." "And they aren't?" Jack asked. Tom shook his head. "The parts check out, but 3 crew members disappeared from security sensors for nearly 20 minutes after docking. When questioned, they claimed they got lost." Dave, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. "The Regellian Confederacy has been unusually interested in our shield technology. Their ambassador has requested tours of the facility 3 times in the past week." Jack's expression darkened. "Increase security around the shield generators and the main computer core, and run a full diagnostic on all systems. If they planted something, I want to find it before it activates." The meeting ended with a sense of urgency. What had begun as a scientific challenge had evolved into a complex political and security situation. Earth's leaders had made it clear. The Quiet Storm had to succeed, not just as a technical achievement, but as humanity's announcement that they were now players on the galactic stage. 3 days later, Jack found himself in a rare moment of calm, watching through a viewport as the final exterior panels were attached to the ship's hull. The quiet storm was beautiful in a strange, almost organic way. Its curved surfaces reflected the stars, giving it an ethereal quality unlike the angular military vessels or bulky transport ships that made up most of humanity's fleet. A soft alarm chimed from his communicator. "Jack, we need you in the main computer core." Lisa's voice came through, tension evident even in her calm tone. The main computer core was the heart of the quiet storm, housing the quantum processors that would guide the ship through the nebulous, chaotic environment. When Jack arrived, he found Lisa, Mark, and a security team surrounding a section of exposed circuitry. "We found it during the diagnostic," Mark explained, pointing to a small device nestled among the quantum processors. "It's sophisticated, designed to activate when we enter the nebula and corrupt the navigational systems." "Can you remove it?" Jack asked. "Already did," Lisa said, holding up a sealed container with the device inside. "But this is concerning. The saboteur had to have intimate knowledge of our systems to place it here." "Inside job?" Jack asked quietly. "Or very good intelligence," Dave replied, joining them. "Either way, we've got bigger problems now." He activated a holographic display showing a Regellian warship approaching Earth. "They're claiming a diplomatic mission, but they're armed well beyond standard protocols for diplomatic vessels." Jack's mind raced. "How long until they reach us?" 6 hours, maybe less," Dave replied. "And how long until the quiet storm is ready for launch?" Mark hesitated. "Minimum safe operation. 12 hours. "But Jack, the ship isn't fully tested yet. Navigation is only at 70% reliability, and the life support systems haven't been fully calibrated." Jack made a quick decision. "Accelerate final preparations. I want the ship ready to launch in 5 hours." "That's impossible," Tom protested. "So was building this ship in the first place," Jack replied with a grim smile. "Make it happen." What followed was the most intense 5 hours of the project. Safety protocols were abbreviated, non-essential systems were left incomplete, and the crew worked with desperate energy to prepare the ship for launch. As the Regellian warship entered Earth orbit, the quiet storm was detached from its construction scaffolding. The minimal crew, just Jack and his core team, boarded through the main airlock. "All stations report," Jack ordered, settling into the captain's chair on the small bridge. "Propulsion ready," Lisa confirmed from her station. "Shields at 90% and holding," Tom reported. "Navigation online," Mark added. "Reliability uncertain but functional." "Life support stable," Dave said from the pilot's position. "Though I wouldn't recommend any deep breaths for the next hour while the atmosphere balances." Jack opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is the quiet storm requesting emergency launch clearance." "Clearance denied," came the immediate response. "The Regellian ambassador is demanding you stand down, Miller. They're claiming you've stolen proprietary technology." "That's convenient," Jack muttered. "Tell them we'll be happy to discuss their concerns after our test flight." "Jack, they're threatening military action if you launch." Jack looked at his team, seeing determination in their eyes. "Then they'll have to shoot us down. The quiet storm is launching now." Dave engaged the standard propulsion systems, and the ship moved smoothly away from the station. On the view screens, they could see the Regellian warship changing course to intercept them. "They're powering weapons," Tom warned. "Get us to the jump point," Jack ordered. The jump point, the shortest route to the edge of the Void Nebula, was 20 minutes away at standard speed. The Regellian ship would intercept them in 10. Preparing to engage experimental propulsion, Lisa announced, her fingers dancing across the control panels. "Quantum wave riders coming online." The ship vibrated slightly as the new engines activated. The stars on the view screen blurred as the quiet storm accelerated to speeds no human vessel had achieved before. Rigelians are in pursuit but falling behind, Tom reported with a grin. Looks like our little boat has some speed. For 15 minutes, they raced toward the jump point, the Rigelian warship growing smaller on their rear sensors. Then disaster struck. A proximity alarm blared through the bridge. Energy spike from the Rigelian vessel. Tom shouted. They fired. Evasive maneuvers, Jack ordered. Dave swerved the ship, but they were still testing the controls. The quiet storm responded sluggishly. The energy blast caught the rear quarter of the ship, sending it spinning. Damage report, Jack demanded, picking himself up from the floor where the impact had thrown him. Hull breach on deck 3. Mark reported. Automated systems sealing it now. Propulsion damaged but functional. Another alarm sounded. They're firing again. This time Dave was ready. The ship twisted gracefully, avoiding the blast. Jump point in 2 minutes, Lisa called out. The bridge filled with smoke as a circuit panel overloaded. Jack rushed to extinguish it, but a power surge threw him backward against a bulkhead. Pain lanced through his side as he felt ribs crack. Jack. Tom was at his side instantly. You're injured. Keep your station, Jack gasped, struggling to his feet. Get us to that jump point. The view screen showed the edge of the Void Nebula coming into view, a swirling mass of purple and black energy that had swallowed countless ships before them. Jump point reached, Dave announced. Ready to engage nebula entry sequence. Jack held his injured side, blood seeping through his fingers. Despite the pain, he smiled. Take us in, Dave. Let's show the galaxy what the quiet storm can do. As the ship plunged toward the nebula's edge, the Rigelian warship broke off pursuit, unwilling to follow where no ship had successfully gone before. The quiet storm penetrated the outer boundary of the nebula, its hull shimmering as the shield harmonizers engaged. Jack watched through pain-blurred eyes as the impossible became reality. They were in the Void Nebula, and they were still alive. Pain seared through Jack's side with every breath as Tom bandaged his ribs in the medical bay. The ship hummed around them, its systems working in harmony with the chaotic quantum forces of the Void Nebula. By all accounts, they should have been dead already, their atoms scattered across space like so many failed expeditions before them. 3 cracked ribs, Tom announced, securing the bandage. You're lucky it wasn't worse. Jack winced as he sat up. How's the ship holding? Surprisingly well, Tom replied. The shield harmonizers are doing their job. We're maintaining integrity at 87%, far better than anyone predicted. The door slid open as Lisa entered. Her face showed a mixture of excitement and concern. Jack, you need to see this. Leaning on Tom for support, Jack made his way back to the bridge. The view screen showed a sight no human had ever seen before, the full glory of the Void Nebula from the inside. Swirling clouds of purple, black, and blue energy surrounded them, shot through with streaks of what looked like lightning. The effect was both terrifying and breathtakingly beautiful. Status report, Jack said, easing himself into the captain's chair. Shield harmonizers are functioning at optimal levels, Lisa reported. The quantum patterns are exactly as we predicted. The ship is, well, it's singing to the nebula. And the nebula is singing back. Dave turned from the pilot station. Navigation is still struggling. The quantum distortions are stronger than our simulations suggested. I can maintain our position, but plotting a course deeper is challenging. And we're getting some unusual readings, Mark added from his station, his cybernetic eye pulsing rapidly as he processed data. Something's at the center of the nebula. Something big. Jack studied the sensor readings. Any idea what it is? Mark shook his head. Not yet. The distortions are too strong for detailed scans, but it's definitely artificial. They sat in silence for a moment, absorbing the implications. They were not only surviving in the Void Nebula, they had potentially discovered something unknown to the rest of the galaxy. Jack made a decision. Plot a course toward the center. Let's find out what's there. With all due respect, Dave said carefully, we've already accomplished more than anyone thought possible. Maybe we should head back and report our success before pushing our luck. Jack understood the concern, but the explorer in him couldn't turn away now. The Regellians might still be waiting for us, and we may never get another chance to see what's at the heart of the nebula. We continue forward. The journey deeper into the nebula tested both the ship and its crew. The quantum distortions grew more intense, forcing constant adjustments to the shield harmonizers. Twice they had to shut down all systems and drift when the patterns became too chaotic to predict. During one of these quiet periods, Jack found Lisa in the observation lounge, staring out at the nebula. "It's like watching a storm from inside the eye," she said without turning. "Destructive, but with a pattern to its madness." Jack stood beside her, having second thoughts about our decision to continue. Lisa shook her head. "No. Whatever's at the center, I think it's important. The mathematical patterns of the quantum distortions, they're not entirely natural. It's as if something is generating them. A device of some kind. Or a station. Maybe even a ship." She turned to face him. "Jack, what if we're not the first to solve this puzzle? What if someone reached the center long ago?" The question hung between them, unanswered as the ship drifted silently through the swirling chaos. After 18 hours of careful navigation, the quiet storm approached what Mark identified as the center of the nebula. The quantum distortions had changed character, becoming more organized, almost rhythmic. "I'm getting clearer readings now," Mark announced. "Definitely an artificial structure ahead. Massive. At least 5 kilometers across." "Can you identify it?" Jack asked. "Nothing in our databases matches. It's ancient, by the look of the energy signatures. Possibly tens of thousands of years old." The view screen cleared as they emerged into a relatively calm area at the nebula's heart. What they saw left them speechless. Floating in space was a vast, ring-shaped structure. Its surface gleamed with a metal unlike any they had seen before, covered in intricate patterns that pulsed with light in perfect harmony with the nebula's quantum rhythms. "Is it a station?" Dave wondered aloud. "More like a gate," Lisa replied, her voice hushed with awe. "Those energy patterns, it's generating the nebula. Deliberately. Why would anyone create an impassable barrier around themselves?" Tom asked. "Not a barrier," Jack realized. "A test. The nebula isn't meant to keep everyone out, just those who haven't developed the right technology to pass through safely." As they approached the structure, a beam of energy shot out, enveloping the quiet storm. Alarms blared across the bridge. "We're being scanned," Mark shouted over the noise. The ship shuddered as the beam intensified. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the beam vanished. The ring structure began to change, sections rotating and realigning. "It's opening," Lisa whispered. The center of the ring filled with a swirling vortex of energy, similar to the nebula, but more controlled, more focused. "We're receiving a transmission," Mark reported, surprise evident in his voice. It's not in any language I recognize, but the computer is translating it as coordinates." "Coordinates to where?" Jack asked. "Unknown, but they're definitely leading somewhere beyond the ring." The bridge fell silent as they all contemplated the implications. They had not only succeeded in traversing the Void Nebula, they had discovered what appeared to be a gateway to somewhere else entirely. "The ship's taken damage," Dave reminded them. "We're low on supplies. The smart move would be to return to Earth with this discovery." Jack nodded slowly. "You're right. We report back first. The quiet storm has proven itself, but we need to prepare properly for whatever lies beyond that gate." As Dave carefully turned the ship back toward the nebula's edge, Jack recorded a message to be transmitted to Earth as soon as they were clear of the quantum distortions. "This is Captain Jack Miller of the Quiet Storm. We have successfully traversed the Void Nebula and made an extraordinary discovery at its center. What we previously thought was a natural phenomenon is actually an artificial construct, a gateway of some kind, created by an advanced civilization. We are returning with our findings. But make no mistake, this is just the beginning. Humanity has not only proven we can build what others thought impossible, we've earned our place among the stars and at the table of galactic civilization. The universe has just become a much bigger place. The journey back through the nebula was smoother than their entry. The ship seemed to have adapted to the quantum patterns, moving through them with growing confidence. As they approached the edge of the nebula, they detected multiple ships waiting at a safe distance, not just Rigelian vessels, but ships from across the galactic community, gathered to witness either their emergence or their failure. "Open a channel to all vessels," Jack ordered as they prepared to exit the nebula. When the communication system was ready, Jack spoke clearly and with pride. "This is the Quiet Storm, returning from the Void Nebula. We carry knowledge and discovery beyond anything you have imagined. The impossible has been achieved. Humanity has arrived." The Quiet Storm burst from the nebula's edge in a flash of light, its hull gleaming with energy as the shield harmonizers continued their complex dance with the quantum forces. As the waiting ships scrambled to approach them, the crew of the Quiet Storm stood tall on their bridge, tired but triumphant. They had been told no one could build it. They had been told no one could survive it. They had proven them all wrong. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the Void Nebula, an ancient gateway waited for humanity's return, promising discoveries and adventures yet to come.